YouTube, this is Karacakes bringing you another PGA Tour 2K23 video here with another CC walkthrough. TGC Tours week 4 kicks off. You might have been promoted to a higher CC tier. Maybe you've made it to the Pro Tours and don't even need to bother with this video. Or maybe you are a player who does Happy Tea Friends and wants to just get a tiny little preview. Whoever you are, welcome on in. We're here at Barsha Sands, made by Pat Luvar. He's a very good designer on PC. And we are playing this week on Challenge Circuit. The interesting thing about the conditions this week is you will get high winds for the first time this season, other than at the keg farm, which was qualifying for everybody. And it will be played on fairly fast greens. The default green speed is 151, and each round is either going to be a fast 155 green speed round or a 155 default round. So let's start with the conditions for round 1. We're starting from the gold tees, back tees on pin 1, playing on medium wind speed coming from the northeast. Default on the firmnesses with fast green speeds. Default weather and time of day as well. Those will change as the tournament goes on. Let's look at the default conditions though. As you can see, it is firm, medium, fast. So fairly standard, normal conditions you will see on TGC Tours. We will need to see how difficult the course is before we make a judgment of whether this is hard or easy. But let's get into it. If I recall correctly, a lot of the greens are protected by bunkers. So that will be the main challenge this week, as people are still trying to get good at the splash game, the short game in general, and avoiding bunkers if you're not very good at it. So let's see how the course plays. So I haven't been playing too well, unfortunately, but I'm going to do my best this week in Challenge Circuit since I will be playing all 4 rounds. Come watch us on twitch.tv/karacakes. I will be playing tonight, roughly starting around 8 p.m. I'll do a little warm-up, maybe around 8:30 or so. We will get into our CC rounds. All 4 rounds, hopefully, will be done tonight. So if you want to see the official rounds and their conditions and how it plays, come watch the Twitch stream or the Twitch VOD. It'll be available over there. If there's enough interest, I can upload them to YouTube as well. You know, if I get a couple comments asking for them to be uploaded here, I can do that for you, and that would be pretty easy for me, and I will get them up like Monday and Tuesday. Maybe one of the episodes tomorrow and Monday, Tuesday. But here we go. As we see, the wind isn't exact, so if it says northeast, it can be north closer to northeast, it could be east closer to northeast, or it can be northeast. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of randomness, so as I said last week, if you want to practice the rounds in advance, you might need to take a couple attempts before you get the exact conditions at different times of the day. But let's see what we're going to do here. So, hit it pretty fast, but in the middle of the fairway still. So let's look. Big wide open fairway and a pretty big green. It's fairly well protected, but you have a short enough distance that you're going to have a wedge in your hand. So it shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to play some loft. See if I can hit this close to pin high. Look at the lie at my feet. Slight uphill lie means I'm being a little careful about adding too much loft. Slight wind in our face as well. We're a little fast right now, but hopefully I improve that. Of course, I hit it super slow, but the benefit is on this side, it should funnel back onto the green. And we're okay with that. We were still a little long, unfortunately, but that was because of the wind. This should break back if I take enough power off. Let's see. Almost. Really good. If I took off a little bit more power, it would have been perfect. But as is, as you can see, pretty fast greens. So on those downhill putts, you will need to take off a lot of power. And there is break. There's enough break on this course, but there are flat spots. For instance, here, if you land in this area, or if you end up in this area on the left, you're going to have a pretty straightforward putt up the hill. However, if you end up over here on the right, expect a downhill putt. But there is a benefit for going for this side in that it should, as you can see, it's slightly downhill. So it should funnel back towards the hole, giving you hole-in-one potential or just really close to the pin potential. So you have to pick your poison here. You can hit, for instance, I have an 8-iron that goes to here. 8-iron doesn't have a lot of rollout, but with firm greens and slight downhill slope and a lot of slope, it should roll out to the hole. Maybe if I even add a little D-loft, see if we can get a little extra distance and see if that works. We're gonna play for that slope a little bit. Obviously, I have that weird shank, so take a practice swing because I'm still warming up for the day. Get the perfect finally. And let's see if it releases. Because if it doesn't, you know not to go for this play. Oh, look at that. Like I said, there's hole-in-one potential if you go for that right side. But the left side is safe. Playing for that left side, or if I fasted it there, right, I would have been on the left side and putting up this hill. So, there are benefits to using the slopes or avoiding them. Obviously, if you hit it too long there, like if you're a left-handed golfer and you hit it fast and you hit it long, there could be a problem. So it will depend on your handiness, whether you're willing to shape or not. Things of that nature. So here, make sure you're aiming for the middle of the fairway. You don't want to be in these bunkers, but this bunker probably isn't the worst to get to. You have enough room to work with. And just let's see if we can hit it into the fairway over and over again. Big wide open fairways. Q is being very nice as a scheduler to start off the season. He's easing you all into it. He's slowly ramping up the conditions and type styles of courses, but it's still on the easy side. We have a slight lie at our feet and a slight downhill lie, so am wary about that. I've learned the hard way that slopes at your feet really do matter at this game. Hit it a little slow and way too far to the right again. But we're on the green. That was about right with my distance calculation. Not a complicated pin and no sand to worry about on this hole, so really it's about how brave are you and if you can hit your tempo. We almost make that. Impressive. Well, we made a meal of the first 3 holes. But that's kind of the way it goes sometimes, and you have to be willing to accept that you're not going to make every shot. Hitting it a little slow still, but at least that one wasn't too bad. Again, we're getting downhill lies into a par 5. Well-protected par 5. You have options. You can run it short and let it roll down the hill, and it'll funnel to the hole. You can't really go at this exactly unless you're willing to risk it. Are you willing to risk the sand? If you're willing to risk it, you can use a lot of loft and some spin and try to land it in this area. Anywhere around here is good. Even landing on the green probably is good if you put a bunch of spin on it. Issue is you're going to have tailwind. If it's more northeast, it'll be like this, but it's still going to be tailwind. So getting it to stop with a downhill lie at your feet and the tailwind's going to be difficult. So I'm going to use the slopes instead. Slope is aimed that way. Wind is not going to counter it that much. And we all know I have my patent and shank. So I'm going to play for my shank a little bit. and assume the wind isn't going to bring it back that much. Fairly slow, but that should still funnel to the left. Let's see if it gets to the hill, or did I take too much off with the spin and the slow? Well, we're in the area. I'll take it. Downhill again, and it runs off the green if you're not careful and hit it way too hard. So be careful here. But make sure you hit it. Give yourself the chance to go in. Ooh, it broke a lot. We gave it a chance. So that one breaks a little more than the beads indicate. Our first long par 3. The first one was like a medium length. This one is definitely long and definitely not in my range. So you have some benefits here. There is a downhill slope that will kick the ball. Issue is, obviously, if you kick it too far, you're going to get this slope back here. So how are you willing to play for this slope? Are you going to play more right here? Obviously, if you have the distance of a club like a long 3-iron or a shorter hybrid, you might be able to play it in this area region right here. For instance, my hybrid, maybe I could get it to stop. I would need to do some calculation, so I'm going to do some calculation. I know if I loft my club a little bit more, the wind plays a lot more. 0.8, 13 plus 234. So even if I fully loft this is dangerous for me. I cannot overpower this at all. I have to make sure that I get it to stop. So there are two ways. You could try to loft a club, you can try to go at the pin, or you could play for this downhill slope right here, let it roll out a bit, and see if you can get it close. Got the perfect, finally. Let's see if the wind is enough to knock it down. I knew it. It was just going to be just too close, and it's going to go down that slope. So there, I was just a little in between clubs. Maybe I could have partialed the hybrid. Maybe I just play that downhill slope. It's risky, but it is something you can try. And this is risky. If you're back here, you're going to very easily roll off the green if you're not careful. So default power gives you 65. Normally I'd go to like 69, 70 foot. So I usually add a lot on these uphill putts. But here I have to think, how careful do I need to be here? I'm going to be a little more careful. We take a practice swing on our putt just to make sure we can hit the power. Of course, I get the power right off the bat. Don't really want to hit 61%. 59 or 58 is going to be the goal. Get 58. Ooh, just didn't break a lot. And as you can see, it wanted to release and roll out, but we didn't add too much power, and we got it. So we haven't started off too hot, and now we have a very long par 4. Just take care. Take care. Don't get in those bunkers. You have plenty of fairway to work with. Too much fairway to work with, even. 8. This might be a little short with this club. I'm going to probably try for it. With the default ball. It wants to roll out more. Still slow. But I aim far enough. And as I thought, it will release a bit. So wind is not fully in my face, so I trusted it wasn't going to. And it's not that high of wind that it wasn't going to die. I was afraid that wasn't going to break, but we got it. And we get a birdie finally. This will be a harder to score course because of the bunkers and the fairway, and the greens being a little tougher than normal. we have bunker in the way, wind in our face. You can overpower this and probably get it close. Like if you kind of overpower and play for this gap, you can get it up there and maybe get it close. You can lay up. You lay up to a good distance, like a higher iron. You'll have like a lob wedge in. That might be more beneficial. If you're confident in your short game, you can kind of aim for in this area. Maybe even control the distance with a partial or by de-lofting. And see if you can get around pin high. And see if you could chip it up. So it's up to you what you decide to do. I'm going to play a safe route for you guys. I think I would normally probably go for it, but let's see. Give us a lob wedge in. Oh, or a gap wedge pitch. Either works. Put some spin on it. I tend to fast my pitches, so I aim for it. Look at that. In the hole. $600 yards. Are you willing to overpower and cut out some of the distance? Will you just take it as is? Make your decision. I'm gonna overpower. I don't overpower that often anymore. I try not to. Because I tend to fast it pretty heavily. But now we're still not close enough. So overpower might not be a risk you can take. There's so much sand. If you're confident in your splash game, you can risk the driver off the deck. Hopefully the wind isn't as much in your face, but northeast means I think the wind will definitely be in your face no matter what. So what are you willing to do? I'm going to lay up. I don't want to risk that. I don't want to risk the bunker. And that's my suggestion to you. If you're not that confident in your short game, lay up here. I think in my round, I'll probably go for it because I'm a psychopath, but you might even want to lay up a little bit more than I did because I ended up in that awkward in-between range where I have to loft my pitching wedge, or loft my lob wedge pitch. I got the perfect for once. Let's see if it comes back. I put so much loft on it. Oh, it didn't come back. All right. So I needed spin on top of that. There we go. As long as you don't hit it too hard, that should sneak into the edge of the cup. Hole 9. Sand is becoming more and more apparent. We're right up against the beach or lake, whatever that is. You can easily clear it if you have a longer driver. Just be wary if you tend to have bad tempo off the tee. Do be wary of this tee shot. You really don't want to slow it or fast it if you're a left-hander. Big slope at your feet. Keep that in mind. I'm gonna de-loft just a little. Because the wind is slightly in my face. I want to make sure it just gets there. But the slope is severe and we know my push is severe. So let's see if this will work. Very slight fast should be really good here. Probably didn't need to put forward spin on it. We're playing with default balls, but you know. Oh, I could tell something is a little off with this grid. Nope, it looks like it's playing about right. It is tilted. This is something called worm camming. You go into your scout camera, use the stick that controls the camera. For me, it's right stick, since left stick moves the aim marker. So right stick, you pull it down. You zoom in with left and right trigger to zoom in. left trigger to zoom out, and you slowly traverse the ground like a worm. And you check the grids and make sure they are tilted. If you line up the grid with the bottom of your monitor or TV or whatever you use, I don't know, maybe you somehow have this on your Game Boy Advance. I don't know. You need to be able to see those lines and make sure they are actually breaking. Or sometimes they may be breaking more or less. So we're going to default our power back. Give it a little extra because I like to throw a little extra on putts these days. Hit it into the cup. And after a little weak start, we've grinded it. Here, well, as you can see, left is death. Right gives you a slope to play with, so you obviously want to aim in this area. Obviously, if you land here, you're safe. But if you flirt any little bit with this edge, it's gone. The closest you can get is probably here. And maybe it won't go down. Like, it might stop right here. But if you're flirting with this edge of the grid, you are potentially in danger. Long is bad because it's going to be off the green. This thing wants to roll out. So short, using the slope on the right, hopefully, or at the very worst, this flatter part of the area. Obviously, if you manage to land it here, you have a hole-in-one chance. The slope works out very nicely to get a hole-in-one here, but this is risky playing for here, so I'm going to be aiming on this side. A bit short, so that I don't end up on this downhill part where it goes off the green. 8 mile/hour winds. Obviously, I aim because of my shank. 201, 199, maybe like 190. The pin is playing around 190, so I'm hoping 181, maybe a little less, because it's gonna bounce because of the firmness. I'd rather be a little short. And try not to fast it too bad. If I fast it a little, it's not the worst. Oh, I got the perfect. And we got the slope. Played it a little too short. Little too safe right there. We were, look at that. We're like a yard or two off of it. Keep rolling for a little bit longer. So like, this is a good putt. We've left ourselves a little far away, so you're not expected to make this putt, but it's a good chance at making this putt. And at the end of the day, you want to give yourself as many good chances. We didn't go on the left, and we weren't long, so we gave ourselves a chance. Because long means it's dead. Long means it's off the green or in that little valley where you have a much harder, longer putt. And obviously left means you're chipping. Oh, this looks good. Oh, like I said, that's not too difficult a putt. Definitely much harder putts on that green. That's a good angle to hit it from. Little bit of a shorter par 4, but the fairway tightens up, as you can see. So, are you willing to chase this, or are you gonna go a little shorter and have a little longer of a shot in? So, if you're gonna go shorter, you can de-loft it to about there for me with my level of shaping, which is pretty high on my driver. Or you can go send it. I'm gonna de-loft it. I landed it well short so that it has pretty much no chance of getting into the rough unless I hit a really bad tempo. And look at that, we're still in lob wedge range. I'm gonna give it a little forward because I know the lob wedge does not check up. So if I give it a little forward spin on the right stick and a little de-loft on the left stick, I know it'll get there and that it won't roll back off the green. A little slow is unfortunate, but hopefully it gets down there. Yes. And that's why I didn't want any spin on it. If I miss tempo or if I'm a little short, it's going to want to come back down the hill back towards us, and that's bad. This is another one where I'm going to worm cam because I could tell the grid line is a little weird. And this is a good example of a grid line that's a little weird. If you line up the bottom, you could see that there's way more break on the right side of the grid than there is on the left side of the grid. So if you were to aim straight, it might actually stay pretty straight for a lot of it. And then here, it's much the same. Like right at the hole, there's not a lot of break. But the more right we are aimed, the more break there is. So I'm going to see it like... I'm going to play this less than I normally would if I just read the grid lines and see if it goes in. Just misses low. So we just clipped that part where it had break, and you could see it very obviously that as we aim more right, there was more break on the grid. So that's the case where the worm cam confirmed that there was at least some break, and there was probably a lot of break, as you could see. So you need to be careful on those shots. They do break, but sometimes if we were just like a half a yard to the left, we would have been on the flatter part, but it still would have said there was a lot more break. So you need to be cognizant of that. That's where ghost breaks come from. The grid marker is an average. The line, the speed of the bead is an average of the break. It's not the exact amount of break. So that's where the term ghost break comes from, because it was a ghost. We didn't know that if we just looked at the bead, right? So be careful. Here, we have a wedge in, so it shouldn't release. I'm going to still add a little bit of spin because wind at our back tends to make it kick more, and we want to make sure it stops. Slope at our feet is pretty significant too, so I'm trying to aim more to the right than I normally would here. Too slow, but at least we're in a good spot. Yeah, very good spot here. I'm gonna play a little bit left edge, just because it should come back a decent amount. I don't know if I hit this hard enough. We'll see. Yeah, we just get there. And that's where you're going to be benefited. If you miss tempo, but you at least aim in the right area, you're going to be safe. Here. Try not to hit that middle bunker with a bad tempo. Or be on this side behind a tree with a bad tempo. Tree there, bud. We got lucky. I'm gonna add spin, so the more spin and loft you add to a club, the more your lie percentage goes up. So let's say I wanted to use like a club like a 3 wood here because I needed the distance, and I figure if you add loft into with a 3 wood or a driver, it usually adds distance. You can make your lie percentage a lot more by doing that, but it makes the shot a lot harder. Same with the hybrid though, adding loft does start to take away distance, and same with the 3 iron. So we'll just add spin to this and hope it gets there. It's gonna have a pretty low trajectory, so sometimes these shots out of the heavy rough, you need to think about the low trajectory and the fact that it's gonna cut through the wind because it's coming out of the rough, and it's gonna bounce and roll out a lot more. I might be able to get away with like this, but I'm looking at the lie percentages and I'm worried. So I'm just going to play this and maybe like a touch aloft just to see if we can make it land a little softer. And we change our camera angle. We try to see what the lie is like. And we go for it. As you can see, it wants to bounce and roll out. But if we didn't add the spin, which adds distance on a 3 iron, we wouldn't have made it. At least now we have a chance, and we can control the distance much easier than if we were off the green or something. Might break too much. It was a good read though. We gave ourselves a chance. Gonna shank it in the hole. Tough hole if you're off the tee or if you're off the fairway. And again, the par 3s are well protected. Either slopes protect the green, or in this case, we have bunkers. So, what's safe? Well, this slope feeds left to right. So aiming for this slope, and sometimes maybe getting a fast in the middle of the green, is probably safe, right? That way, if you hit a perfect, it's going to land maybe in this area and roll to the right a little bit. That's pretty good. But we don't want to be here. It's uphill significantly, so it's going to have even less spin generation because when you hit into an uphill, it wants to bounce and roll out more. So this is risky if you're down here. Like, even worst case scenario, you end up here. And like, you don't count, it's not a sand, and you can chip it from here, but like, good luck controlling the distance from here. Or if you somehow manage to catch the sand and it doesn't roll down from, like, let's say here, like, what if it plugs here? You're in trouble. So we're gonna play safe. Play it out here. Put a little de-loft on it just to be safe. No, a little slow, but we did protect against a decent amount by aiming so far over there that we have a putt at it and we are not in the sand. That's why slopes, using those slopes can be your friend, just because you can save yourself if you hit a bad tempo too. Just miss. I knew I was over aiming too. I was just like, oh, but maybe if I hit it slow enough, I needed to take a little more power off of that if I wanted that to trickle into the hole. Wide open fairway, no excuses, par 5. You gotta make sure you're in the fairway. Do not hit that bad slow like I did 2 holes ago. Get it? Slight fast, perfect, basically. Anything close to perfect there is perfect. Slight slow, even a moderate slow, slight fast, moderate fast, those are all good there. You just do not want to be super slow or super fast. And hook it, duck hook it. This is a tough, well-protected pin. You can't go at it directly. You have to, like, the most direct way you can go at it is roughly around here, so that it bounces left, gets high enough so that it's not rolling off the green, and gets into this area. That would be a beautiful shot. You could play this slope as well, and that's kind of where I'm aiming for. Same principles as before. This way, if we miss our tempo and we're slightly fast, maybe we hit in this area and we still get a good shot. If we hit a perfect, we're here. If we hit a slight slow, maybe it just stays on that side. Worst case, it's here, but you can 2-putt this very easily. But obviously, where is bad? We don't really want to be long, because then we're going downhill, uphill, then potentially back downhill off the right side of the green from this perspective, right? Chipping from over here will be a disaster too. If you're going to end up chipping, you're going to want to chip from this area, so at least you're uphill, right? But you want to score here. You want an eagle chance at worst. So we're going to aim for this right side of the green, or the middle of the green, that right side slope. And see if we can get a good shot. Take your practice shot if you spend time thinking and talking. And we duck hook it. Worst case scenario, but because of the wind holding it up, we're still in an okay spot, as you can see. And this is what I was saying. If I got a bad slow, I could still 2-putt this. I could still 2-putt this. We're going to need to take power off because it's yellow, slope, almost orange at certain points. And yes, this might end up being short, but you don't want to be off the green like I was saying, right? This is going to pick up a lot of speed. So we do not want to be off the green to the left or long. It's about managing your risks here. And you might just get you might get lucky here. As you can see, I got close to being lucky. I took a lot of power off and we're still almost off the green. So if you're wondering why the ball rolls out so much on those downhill putts on faster greens, the default power is not good for downhill putts on faster greens. Same with uphill putts, it gives you too little power. The faster the green, the more power you have to take off on downhill putts or add on uphill putts. Now, if you naturally overhit the putt or underhit the putt, you have to adjust based on your play style, but you know. Here we lay up. We can't reach, and like if you do this and you're confident enough to do this and you hit a perfect, you might just barely get on the green with wind at your back. But if you're willing to do that, you probably belong on a higher tour. You probably belong in the pro tours if you're willing to do this and you can execute it normally, regularly. We're going to play this the normal way. Lay it up, put it in a good spot. I thought that was going to be fast, but I got a barely slow, which is effectively perfect, like I said before. Let it roll down here. Might need an added spin. Yep. If you hit the downhill slope with a gap wedge or a sand wedge, a gap wedge or a pitching wedge pitch, you're probably going to need to add some spin to it. Just too far to the right. Shanked it too hard. Okay. Big downhill slope. You will have a 9-iron or a pitching wedge in, so you will have more spin. You might need to add spin here. And in this case, I'm probably adding spin, right? I see that's about 163. So if we add a little bit of spin, just trickle onto that downslope, we'll be in a really good spot. But it's tricky. You could play more out here, and you'll have a little safer of a time. So if you play it a little shorter and let it trickle down here, you'll probably be having a good uphill putt that isn't too much break. You can be risky and really go for this side. Potential for a hole out, or at least you'll stay on the green likely. We're gonna see if we can do it though. This is a tough shot. A little too fast, so we're definitely on the left side in that flatter area, like I said, and at least we'll have a chance. This isn't too bad of a putt. Probably like a 20% chance of sinking this. Oh, I hit it just a little too hard. If I hit that just slightly less, it's a perfect putt. But as you can see, even a top player like me, if I'm not feeling the tempo, this is going to be a tougher course. Make a couple of misreads, make a couple of bad decisions, and you could be struggling to score on this course. This first round does feel pretty tough. The pin location's not the easiest. You got a par 5 to end it. Big wide open fairway. Again, I'm going to reiterate, do not miss these fairways. This is definitely one where it's almost impossible to like get this close. We could shape it closer to the hole this way. That's probably our only option if we want to try to get this close, is we're going to need to shape it and draw it into the hole location. Needed to add a little more loft and a little more spin. It was the right idea, and we almost got it to stick, but it was just a touch too far. Just a touch too far. Very good read from me, though. Just gonna break. Might have underhit that. And I did. Oh, it was a good read. I don't know if it goes in. It was breaking back. That's a good read. And as you can see, not the easiest place to play to start with. I really struggled on that back half. Only 4 birdies and 2 of them on par 5, so you need to birdie. We scored on the hardest hole, the par 3, the medium length par 3 in the middle of the green with a huge slope to the left. We managed to just get past that and scored a 2. But some of the difficult holes, like the 13th, the 14th par 3, the 17th par 3, those are all very tricky. A lot of these par 3s, outside of maybe the first one and maybe that shorter one that I parred, I think it was the 14th. I probably should have scored that. I just missed it. But it's not easy. It's not an easy course. As you can see, I have very good statistics, but the proximity needs to be a little closer if I wanted to score more. I missed a medium putt too, which is bleh, vomit. But we kept the scorecard clean, and we gave ourselves a lot of chances at birdies. So if I putt a little better, like more like 60 or 70% one putt like I sometimes do, I might score 13, 14, 15 under. So there you have it. That is all Barsha Sands by Pat Luvar. Week 4 of CC coming hot at you. Good luck out there. Believe in you all. Score well, shoot low. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. As always, greatly appreciate it. And as I said, tonight around 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll go live on twitch.tv/karacakes and play some CC. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Love you guys. Mean it. As always, you're all incredible.